He has given away more money on camera than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. He paid for 1,000 people to get eye surgery and gave them their sight back. He built 100 wells in Africa. He planted 20 million trees. He gave away houses, cars, islands, and cash to complete strangers in videos watched by hundreds of millions of people. And scientists who study the neuroscience of extreme generosity and obsessive cognition say the reason Jimmy Donaldson does this, the reason his brain is physically incapable of doing anything halfway, is not just personality, it is written into his DNA. This is not a feel-good story about a nice kid who got lucky. This is the actual neuroscience and genetics of why certain brains are built to fixate, certain brains are built to give, and what happens when both of those genetic programs exist inside the same 27-year-old from North Carolina who just became the most subscribed human being in the history of the internet. Stay right here. And if content like this, real genetics, real brain science, real stories about the most extraordinary people alive, is what you want, hit that subscribe button right now. We do this every single week. Let's get into it. James Stephen Donaldson was born on May 7th, 1998, in Wichita, Kansas. His family moved frequently during his early years because his mother, Sue Donaldson, served in the military. She was, according to documented sources, a military prison warden stationed at one point in Mannheim, Germany. The family eventually settled in Greenville, North Carolina, where Jimmy was primarily raised. His parents divorced in 2007 when he was 9 years old. His father largely disappeared from his public life and personal narrative. Jimmy has rarely spoken about him. His mother became the dominant figure in his upbringing, and later became the person who handled his banking and personal affairs as his career grew. He has one older brother, CJ Donaldson, who also became a YouTuber and goes by the name CJ These Days, with millions of subscribers of his own. The fact that both brothers ended up as full-time content creators on the same platform is not a coincidence that genetics ignores. We will come back to that. Jimmy has described himself in a documentary produced by CuriosityStream as having had an obsessive personality from the beginning, not just interested in things, not just passionate, obsessive. He fixated on Lego, he fixated on baseball, he played it obsessively enough that he made it to the high school team, playing as an outfielder for Greenville Christian Academy, the private evangelical school where he completed his secondary education. And then, at 15 years old, he was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, a chronic inflammatory autoimmune condition that attacks the digestive tract, causes severe pain and fatigue, and in his case, caused him to lose around 50 pounds in a short period. He told Joe Rogan in a 2022 podcast appearance, "I played baseball nonstop, and then when I got Crohn's, I lost like 50 pounds. I'm like, that. Sports were over. But the obsessive personality was not going anywhere. It just needed a new target. And at 13 years old, the target had already found him. On February 19th, 2012, Jimmy Donaldson uploaded his first YouTube video under the channel name MrBeast's 6000. He was 13 years old. The name came from his Xbox gamertag. The shorter MrBeast was already taken by someone else, so the algorithm added 6000. His early content was gaming videos, Minecraft and Call of Duty, mixed with videos where he estimated how much money other YouTubers were making from their channels. Neither format was original. Neither went viral. He had a few hundred subscribers for years. And then something happened that almost nobody else would have done. He kept going, not just posting and hoping. He entered what he would later describe as one of the most obsessive, relentless, borderline unhealthy periods of his life. He said this about it himself, documented in multiple interviews. There's a 5-year point in my life where I was just relentlessly, unhealthily obsessed with studying virality, studying the YouTube algorithm. I woke up, I would order Uber Eats food, and then I would just sit on my computer all day just studying stuff nonstop. 5 years. From roughly 2012 to 2017. 5 years of sitting in a room in North Carolina, barely sleeping, eating delivery food alone, studying what makes videos get recommended, what makes people click, what makes people watch to the end, what makes them share. His friends have confirmed the same story. People would tell him he was too obsessed with YouTube, that he needed a life, that he was wasting his time. He ignored all of it. At 16, after graduating high school, he briefly enrolled at East Carolina University because his mother wanted him to go. He dropped out after 2 weeks. His mother was so angry she kicked him out of the house. He kept making videos. In January 2017, he posted a video called I Counted to 100,000. It took him 40 hours to complete. He sat in front of a camera and counted out loud from 1 to 100,000. That is not a creative idea that most brains produce. That is the output of a brain that is willing to do something absurd to an extreme degree that most people would never even consider, and then follow through completely, just to see what happens to the algorithm. The video went viral within days, tens of thousands of views, then hundreds of thousands. He had cracked something. He understood something about the psychology of human attention, about what makes people click, what makes them stay, what makes them feel compelled to share. that the 5 years of obsessive study had built inside him piece by piece until the moment he had enough of it to apply. And what he did next is where the genetics of his brain becomes the most important part of this story. Most people, when they start earning significant money for the first time, do the same thing. They spend it. They buy things for themselves. They upgrade their life. They enjoy it. This is completely natural. It is what the human reward system is designed to do: earn, receive, enjoy. That is the genetic baseline for most brains. Jimmy Donaldson's brain did something different. He started giving it away, not symbolically, not a small percentage. He started reinvesting almost everything he earned into making the videos bigger, more expensive, and more extreme, and then structuring those videos so that the money went to strangers. His first big donation video involved giving a homeless man $1,000, then $10,000. Then he started giving cars away, then houses. Then in 2019, he launched Team Trees from Rossignol, a fundraiser with fellow YouTuber Mark Robber for the Arbor Day Foundation, with the goal of planting 20 million trees by planting one tree for every dollar donated. They hit $20 million raised within weeks, planting 20 million trees. He followed it in 2021 with Team Seas, a fundraiser for Ocean Conservancy and the ocean cleanup, that raised over $30 million to remove 30 million pounds of trash from the oceans. In 2025, he co-founded Team Water, a fundraiser for WaterAid that raised over $40 million to provide clean drinking water to communities in need. He paid for the cataract surgeries of 1,000 people who had been blind for years and documented their reactions on camera. He built 100 wells, providing clean water to African villages. He has given away millions of dollars in cash prizes to strangers across hundreds of videos. His Beast Philanthropy channel, a separate YouTube channel that donates 100% of its ad revenue and sponsorship income directly to charitable causes, runs food banks, funds disaster relief, and has been active in all 50 American states. The channel's 2022 annual report showed that approximately 96% of all expenses went directly to programs, a charity efficiency rating that is genuinely rare in the nonprofit world. And here is the extraordinary financial detail. Despite being worth approximately $2.6 billion on paper, according to Celebrity Net Worth in 2026, and despite his company Beast Industries carrying a valuation of $5.2 billion, following a funding round led by Alpha Wave Global in 2025, Donaldson himself has publicly stated that he keeps less than $1 million in his personal bank account. He borrowed money from his mother to cover wedding-related expenses. He admitted in an interview that he personally lost tens of millions of dollars producing the first season of Beast Games, the $100 million reality competition series he made for Amazon Prime Video in 2024. The most watched YouTuber in history has almost no cash because he cannot stop putting it back into either the videos or the giving. And the neuroscience of why is one of the most fascinating stories in recent brain science. Let us talk about what scientists have discovered about the brains of extreme altruists, people who give at levels that go far beyond what social norms or financial logic would suggest, because this is the research that maps directly onto what MrBeast does. Georgetown University researchers, led by neuroscientist Abigail Marsh, who is internationally recognized for her research on what she calls the caring continuum, published landmark findings on extreme altruism in the brain. Their research, which was later featured in a study published in PNAS Nexus, was the first to measure what happens in the brains of extreme altruists in real time as they make generous decisions. What they found was specific and extraordinary. In people who engage in extreme acts of generosity towards strangers, kidney donors, people who give enormous sums to those they do not know, people who dedicate their lives to helping others at personal cost, the right amygdala was measurably larger than in people who give at normal levels. The amygdala is the region of the brain most closely associated with emotional processing, with the ability to feel and respond to the emotional states of other people, to experience empathy at a physical, neurological level. The extreme altruists in the study had a physically different brain structure from the average person. And that structural difference, a larger right amygdala, more sensitive to the emotional states of others, made them experience the reward of giving in a way that most people do not feel with the same intensity. Marsh's research group stated directly, "This research is important because it contradicts the idea that caring about and helping strangers is somehow superhuman. It is, in their findings, a neurological difference, a brain that processes the emotional experience of helping others with greater depth and greater reward signal than a typical brain. And that brain difference, the enlarged amygdala of the extreme altruist, is not random. Like all structural brain features, it is shaped by genetics. The heritability of empathy, measured across large twin studies, is estimated at approximately 30 to 40% according to published research. And the heritability of prosocial behavior, the biological drive toward generosity and cooperation, is similarly documented in behavioral genetics literature at between 30 and 50%. Now look at the Donaldson family. C.J. Donaldson, Jimmy's older brother, also became a content creator whose work includes charitable content and community building. His mother, Sue, by multiple accounts of the people around Jimmy's career, raised both of her sons in an environment that emphasized generosity, service, and responsibility to others. His faith background, growing up attending a private Christian school in the heart of North Carolina's Bible Belt, embedded from a very early age the principle that using what you have to help others is not optional. It is a calling. The genetic foundation, combined with an upbringing that reinforced pro-social behavior at every level, produced a brain that, when it encountered the ability to give away millions of dollars on camera, immediately recognized this as one of the most rewarding things it could do. Now, let us look at the other half of the genetics, the obsession. Because generosity alone does not build a 506 million subscriber YouTube channel. The generosity is what people feel when they watch, but the obsessive system building is what makes the videos happen at all. Scientists who study the neuroscience of hyperfocus and obsessive cognition have confirmed that the drive to fixate on a chosen domain, to study it relentlessly, to understand its rules completely, and to become the best at it regardless of what it costs in sleep, social life, or conventional career, is rooted in dopaminergic signaling. The dopamine system is the brain's primary motivational circuit. When it is calibrated in a specific way, when the reward signal for mastering a skill or understanding a system is unusually strong, certain people experience that drive as almost physically compulsive, not a choice they are making, a pull they are responding to. Donaldson described the 5-year obsession with YouTube in terms that map precisely onto this neuroscience. He was not trying to work hard. He was not disciplining himself to study the algorithm. He was genuinely unable to stop. He told people who questioned him that he was too obsessed. He acknowledged it was unhealthy. And yet he kept going every day because stopping felt wrong in a way that he could not override. This is the signature of a hyperfocus episode in a brain with unusually strong dopaminergic reward response to mastery-based activities. The YouTube algorithm was not just a puzzle he was solving. It was, to his brain, the most rewarding thing he had ever encountered. A system so complex, so data-rich, and with such tangible feedback on success and failure that it became a source of constant neurological reward. Published neuroscience research has confirmed that hyperfocus is understood to result from differences in how dopamine functions in the brain. It is most commonly associated with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, a condition in which dopamine regulation in the prefrontal cortex operates differently from neurotypical patterns. Donaldson has never publicly confirmed or denied an ADHD diagnosis, so we are not making that claim here. What we are saying is that the behavioral profile he has described in his own words, the obsessive childhood fixations, the inability to attend college classes because YouTube felt more urgent, the 5-year relentless study of virality at the expense of his social life and sleep, is the documented behavioral profile of a brain with a specific dopaminergic architecture that produces this kind of sustained compulsive engagement with chosen systems. The heritability of ADHD and related dopaminergic traits is documented at between 70 and 80%, one of the highest heritability rates of any neurodevelopmental condition. Research published in World Psychiatry in 2025, covering the largest genome-wide association study of ADHD ever conducted, confirmed that genetic variants enriched in pathways related to brain development. Dopaminergic signaling and neurodevelopment were the primary genetic drivers of the condition. These variants are inherited from parents. C.J. Donaldson, the older brother, also showed a version of the same pattern, building a YouTube channel with millions of subscribers by applying the same kind of focused, creative obsession that defined Jimmy's career. The family pattern is consistent with what behavioral genetics would predict. There is one more layer to this story that brings everything together. And it is the layer that explains the specific form Jimmy's obsession took. Most brains with extreme hyperfocus tendencies direct that focus towards self-serving activities. Money, status, power. A brain that experienced powerful internal reward from mastery will pursue mastery in whatever domain gives it the strongest feedback signal. And for most people, that feedback comes from personal accumulation. The reason MrBeast's hyperfocus expressed itself through giving rather than hoarding is the intersection of two genetic programs working together. The extreme altruism, the enlarged emotional processing, the unusually strong neurological reward for helping others, combined with the dopaminergic obsessive mastery drive, produced a brain that found the largest possible reward signal not in accumulating wealth, but in the act of giving it away at scale. Because giving it away at scale produces the feedback loop his brain craves more than any other. Massive human emotional reactions, real-time data on what works, a constantly growing audience whose response tells him whether the system is performing, and the ability to go bigger and then bigger again, because the dopamine system does not have a stopping point when the activity keeps scaling. A $5 million video that gives one person a house produces a reaction, A $10 million video that gives 100 people houses produces a bigger reaction. A $100 million Amazon competition series produces the biggest reaction yet. The obsessive brain's feedback loop and the altruistic brain's reward circuit are running simultaneously in the same direction, compounding each other every time a new video goes live. This is why he cannot stop reinvesting everything. The money is not the product. The scale of the giving is the product, because only the scale produces the size of reaction that satisfies both halves of his brain simultaneously. He has said this himself more plainly than any neuroscientist could. He told Bloomberg Businessweek in September 2025, "I'm addicted to making YouTube videos. I wake up thinking about them. I go to sleep thinking about them." He has described production meetings that run until 3 in the morning because the team is trying to make one scene better. He has described rewatching his own videos dozens of times after they go live, tracking which moments lose viewers, which moments spike engagement, what the data says about what could have been done differently. This is not the behavior of someone who makes videos for money. This is the behavior of a brain that experiences the act of building a maximally effective piece of content, distributing it to hundreds of millions of people, and watching the reaction as one of the most neurologically satisfying activities a human brain can engage in. The money and the net worth are what happen alongside that process. They are not why it happens. On June 2nd, 2024, MrBeast's YouTube channel overtook T-Series to become the most subscribed channel on YouTube. T-Series, the Indian film and a music production house, had held that position since 2019. It was taken by a 26-year-old from North Carolina who started with a secondhand laptop at 13 years old and spent 5 years studying algorithms alone in a room. On June 12, 2026, Jimmy Donaldson became the first and only human being in the history of YouTube to cross 500 million subscribers on a single channel. 500 million people chose to follow the work of one person, more than the entire population of the United States and Canada combined. His videos have accumulated over 100 billion lifetime views across his channels. His company, Beast Industries, carries a valuation of $5.2 billion. His personal net worth is estimated at $2.6 billion. He is 27 years old. He has given away more money than most people can imagine, made the most expensive YouTube videos in history, and built a chocolate company called Feastables from $0 to $250 million in annual revenue in under 3 years, without spending a dollar on traditional advertising, because every MrBeast video is its own advertisement, reaching 100 million people for free. He still eats delivery food alone at his desk some nights. He still lives inside his studio complex most of the time to avoid commuting. He still rewatches his own videos obsessively after they go live. He has almost no personal cash, despite being worth billions on paper. And he has said publicly that he will keep doing this until he can no longer physically do it. The genetics research on extreme altruism tells us why he gives. The neuroscience of obsessive cognition and dopaminergic hyperfocus tells us why he cannot stop. And the heritability of both those systems, confirmed across twin studies, genome-wide association data, and family pattern research, tells us that none of this was built from scratch. The foundation was already there in his cells before he ever picked up a secondhand laptop and typed the name MrBeast 6000 into a search bar. He is the most watched person on YouTube because his brain was built to be. The DNA does not lie. But there is one final piece of this story that almost nobody includes. And it matters because it is honest and it is real. At 15 years old, Jimmy Donaldson was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. This is a chronic autoimmune inflammatory condition of the digestive tract. It is painful. It causes fatigue. It required him to give up the sport he loved. It has affected his diet and his energy levels throughout his adult life. He keeps a heavily regulated diet because of it. He has described bouts of severe fatigue. It is something he manages every single day, quietly, behind the scenes of videos that cost $5 million to produce and reach 100 million people. And here is what the genetics research says about Crohn's disease that almost nobody includes in the public conversation about MrBeast. Crohn's is itself a highly heritable condition. Research published in clinical gastroenterology journals has confirmed its heritability at between 30 and 50%, with specific genetic variants in genes including NOD2, IL-23R, and ATG16L1 identified as contributing factors. More importantly for this story, Crohn's disease is classified as an autoimmune condition, meaning it involves the immune system attacking the body's own tissue. And research published in immunogenetics and neuroscience literature has found documented connections between autoimmune conditions and the broader genetic architecture that influences how the nervous system develops and responds to stress, inflammation, and physical challenge. Donaldson has never complained about his Crohn's disease publicly in a way that seeks sympathy. He mentioned it to Joe Rogan almost as a footnote, the thing that ended his baseball career, quickly moved past. But it is part of his biological story. The same genetic profile that contributed to his obsessive cognitive architecture His unusually strong emotional empathy and his inability to stop pursuing the thing his brain finds most rewarding also appears to have made his immune system fire in a direction that cost him a significant amount of physical suffering from the age of 15 onward. This is what genetics actually looks like in a real person. Not a clean story where the good traits come without any cost. A complex set of biological instructions that produces extraordinary outcomes in some directions and real, ongoing challenges in others. Jimmy Donaldson built a 500 million subscriber empire while managing a chronic autoimmune condition that he has never used as an excuse for a single day in his life. The DNA gave him the obsession. The DNA gave him the empathy. The DNA gave him the Crohn's, and he built everything you see, with all three running simultaneously. If you made it all the way through this video, you are exactly who this channel is built for. Real science, real genetics, real stories about the DNA behind the most extraordinary people alive right now. Every single week, we go this deep. Subscribe right now so you are here for the next one. Drop a name in the comments. Tell us whose brain you want us to study next, because the next story might be the most extraordinary one yet. Thank you for watching. The science is real, and the brain behind 500 million subscribers is more extraordinary than even the numbers can explain.